Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Jillian Epperly with jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. And yeah, the last couple of years, man, crazy. When eh, just thinking about merging all of the science, religion, and spirituality and breaking it down. And the whole point of J Juice is to kill off all the barriers and differences and have people understand that life and death are what is being explained through so many different contexts. How you deal with life, how you deal with death. When somebody has imbalances, how do you then institutionalize, or how do you instill crime and punishment when somebody has imbalances? I mean, everything in our society is predicated upon life and death of humans and how they leave this earth and then how they live on this earth. And so now we have to understand how it all works and what language people are speaking, even if you haven't been raised in that language. Okay. So first, like a real review real quick. The human body is made up of fatty acid, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And any fear of shampoos and conditioners and like mainstream products, such as at Walmart or any of your department stores, anything that's not organic, it's all GMO. It's made up of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. Okay, but if you have any fear of any of those things, it's because, or any allergies from those things, it's because of imbalances. So we have understood that anyone that has a fear, that has an activist stance, that has a fear of the chemtrails, the 5G, Monsanto, GMO, has a fear of vaccines, has a fear of what's in the vaccines, has a fear or demonizes fruits or vegetables or carbs or wheat or legumes. When someone demonizes the food supply, it's because they have imbalances in their body and they're trying to then project that and impose and legislate morals onto other people, assuming that everybody else has the same allergy or shouldn't be partaking in those types of stuff. So if you are demonizing processed food and milk and meat and any of that stuff, you have imbalances. And then you're trying to legislate morals yet again. So that's essentially what goes on in the activist world. And so when you look at Facebook and you look at all the different holistic healing groups and you look at all the different just protocols and diets and all of that, you will see that these lifestyles are predicated upon people who have imbalances and they're trying to impose and legislate morals. Okay. So that's just a review about chemicals, because chemicals are just minerals and elements. So when someone says, oh God, I can't have this shampoo or use this shampoo or use this product because it has all these chemicals, I'm like, you live in a world of minerals, you live in a world of elements, you live in a world of bacteria and viruses. What makes you think you're going to be avoiding aluminum? Like, oh, don't be wrapping your food in aluminum because it's going to leach out into your food. And I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to live in a bubble where you have no exposure to anything aluminum? What do you think we're going to turn into if you avoid the world where you are not going to be at all exposing yourself to anything that is like a mineral or an element? I mean, it's just asinine, but then I understand. People have sicknesses, people have imbalances, and they think that everyone else is like them. And so that's just something to be aware of. Anytime that you demonize anything, you are projecting your imbalances onto the world. So now you understand about people and all of their fears. Their fears come from their personal issues in their body, their anger, their fears, their activism, all of that. When you see what someone is railing against, or you see when someone is demonizing a food or a drink or anything like that, you know exactly what kind of issues they have in their body. And so then if you're looking for a mate, looking for someone to marry, and you don't want to have all this, and you want to see kind of what you're dealing with or what you're going to deal with in the future, just look at their politics, which is like a duh, but look at their food politics. If they're all into organic food and they're all into all this stuff, and it means that they have predisposition of issues that's going to come up sometime in the future in the relationship. And it could potentially drive a wedge or cause a person to pass away prematurely. Or they have absolutely no care and they eat everything and they have issues. It means at some point those imbalances are going to then rear its ugly head, and then you got to deal with that in the future. So and then look at the parents. If you want to know who it is, you know, what they're going to grow up into, look at the parents. The parents will tell you exactly what your wife or your husband are going to turn into in the future. And maybe you don't want to marry them because this is going to be a potential issue. Okay? So these are just the things you guys must kind of check out now that you kind of know how to predict and see the future by just looking at a person's world. That not like delving into their background, but just meet their friends and family. Okay? That'll tell you everything you want to know about them. So anyways, I got off on a tangent there. But I wanted to kind of break down and have people understand the whole thing with the religion and the spirituality and then the science, because they're all the same. And I have to substantiate. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm being idealistic and say everybody's the same and we're all going to come from the same, right? Well, there's actual substantiation behind that religion and spirituality and science are all the same. So religion is about the physical, the superhuman, okay? A god or a few gods, a personal god, whatever you want to call it. There's organized religion and then there's just like personal religion. And people can characterize whatever. You see them talking about Jesus, you see them talking about Yahweh or Yahuwah or all of that. And so religion is kind of like worshiping the physical, okay? From past, present, and then potential future. Spirituality is like aspects of that superhuman. It's taking away the physical and just focusing on the hormones, the spirit / the viruses, what runs a human, which is the viruses and bacteria, the hormones. I mean, we can name the hormones: oxytocin, adrenaline, epinephrine, which is adrenaline, serotonin, prostaglandin. I mean, the spiritual world is all about playing with your chakras, coming from a particular place, okay? Either love, or hate, which you don't really see too much in the spirituality. People are saying that they hate, but but it does come out if you don't follow their doctrines. So, yes, Kevin. So the spiritual world is all about forgetting the body and the mind and only focusing on the hormones. And that's where the whole ayahuasca, why all the drugs and the LSD and the PCP and the acid tripping, and then the yoga and the meditation, it's all playing with your hormones, the spiritual side of the human, forgetting the body and mind. And so religion is about the superhuman, about the physical, and then the spirituality is just taking the piece of that superhuman and only focusing on the hormones. And then you have science. Science merges religion and spirituality, no different than no different than functional medicine merging the allopathic and the holistic, okay? And so the whole thing with science is understanding the human as a whole, and then they pick apart aspects of the body, mind, and spirit, because a lot of people who are part of organized religion, not everybody, because I mean, some of the Jehovah's Witnesses that I've seen talk about that indefinite life, like Christina Morris and Monica. But then there are others that I've seen that don't believe in indefinite life. So it's just how people, I guess, interpret their religion, and it gets interpreted through people's perceptions of what life and death is. Okay, but there's a lot of religions out there that believe in the afterlife. No different than a lot of religions or a lot of spiritual people believe in the afterlife, that they don't want to be on this earth. They think the earth is just a stepping stone to something better. And that's when they justify death. Okay. And so religion and spirituality, or science, is a merging of the religion and spirituality. Okay. And it has people understand why we need to understand the body, mind, and spirit, because that's kind of what science does. It has you understand the bigger picture, not just aspects that people cherry pick to then justify whatever behaviors they have. Okay. And so all the things in religion and spirituality, like all the jargon, all the symbols, is a representation of the biological processes and the desires based upon what hormones are present of a particular person. Okay. And so that's why I'm coming from the science platform, so people don't get lost in the distraction and the jargon of the spiritual world, which totally eradicates the material side of the world. They don't like to look at the physical because the physical doesn't mean too much to them, because this is just a stopping stone or a stepping stone. And the religion is like more about the superhuman, not really taking into account the bigger picture. Okay, because it's all about the history and potentially then the afterlife. And so science has you understand the body, mind, and spirit. However, they haven't figured out how to keep the body, mind, and spirit intact, functioning at its optimal capacity, maximizing its potential on this earth. And so they still get stuck in the religion and the spirituality world. Okay. But I really see that science intends to merge together the body, mind, and spirit, wanting to keep it, because they're trying to find ways to prolong life. I mean, they don't believe people should die. If that were the case, they wouldn't have biotech to kind of string out your death to give you insurance. You wouldn't have biotech to implement vaccines if they didn't care about life, because they do. Because let me tell you, if it was left up to Mother Nature, any sign of weakness, you all be dead. There wouldn't be any prolonging your life or manipulating your hormones to prolong your life. Okay. So science really truly wants the body, mind, and spirit on this earth together. They don't like death. They don't believe in death. Okay. But it happens because they haven't figured out that they're applying the wrong chemistry. Because that's really the outcome of the allopathic and holistic, is that even though they're trying to promote life in some way, prolong it in some way, the outcome is still the same. And so this is where I brought in the word biological sin. And then there's original sin. So you have to understand what sin is. Sin is when you violate the laws of God or laws of life, because God equals life. Okay. And so it makes sense that the whole thing with Adam and Eve, the original humans, and they were living in the Garden of Eden. And I'm going to bring in some allegory here, some biblical stories, but that was the symbol of indefinite life. And then when there's this tree that was told that you do not eat from the tree of life, because that will then give you knowledge of good and evil. And then the snake went and tempted Eve to then tempt Adam. And then this is where reproduction, the sins of the father, get passed down every generation. So reproduction came from the fact that Adam and Eve violated the law of God, the law of life in the Garden of Eden. So at some point, when we are having 7 billion people on this planet, it's like, I mean, to bring it to the most extreme, to some of the most extreme religions, like the double spawn, children are the double spawn. It kind of makes sense, because every child is predicated upon the weaknesses of the mother and the father, which would then cause them to drop seeds because of imbalances. They violate the laws of life, which means that they're on a death trajectory. And then in order to mitigate against extinction, seeds have to be dropped, and then they have to also be fertilized. Okay. And so this is where the sins of the father, original sin was when Adam and Eve violated the laws of life, violated the laws in the Garden of Eden, and ate from the tree of life. And now they know between good and evil, because they violated the laws. It was all good, all life. And then what evil is when you violate the laws of life, and then you go down the whole death trajectory. And then this is where heaven is like life and hell is like death. So so yeah, so that's where all of the evil and the Satanism and the demons, and where parasites get like demonized. And so so the whole thing with biological sin, where science comes into play, is because yes, every single PTSD and trauma a mother and a father, are afflicted with, well, if it's not corrected and taken care of like as soon as possible, that sin, that violation of life, because they did not take care of that issue, then gets passed down to every child thereafter. Okay? And then it becomes a chain reaction of PTSD, and it compounds. It's like compound interest. So you figure that people today, after, however many years of procreating on bodies that have been traumatized, what kind of issues people are dealing with. And then, you know what? Look at Facebook. You want to know the outcome of all of the biological sin that's been inflicted upon humanity? Just look at your Facebook. Look at all of the people who are unhappy, the crime, the dysfunction in families, the cancer, disease, and chronic illness. You will see the outcome, the manifestation of biological sin that happens all over humanity. And so the whole thing with the Jejus does bring us back to Adam and Eve in a lot of ways. And there's going to be a lot of Adam and Eves out there if they decide to fix all of the generational PTSD. And that is what the Jejus is attempting to do. It doesn't matter when you sustain that PTSD. It could have been since from Adam, okay? Or from Genghis Khan, because he was a descendant from Adam too, and Eve. If we were going to find original humans, and there's probably a lot of original humans. I don't think really there's only an Adam and Eve and that was it. There may have been a lot of original humans, because there was a lot of bacteria. There wasn't just one bacteria on this earth that merged with another bacteria, then fertilized and created life and then evolved. There was a lot of bacteria, a lot of things, and a lot of components that made up a human. Because there's a lot of animals, a lot of amoebas and nematodes and all these different things that eventually over time then evolved. Now people want to believe that they were aliens that came down onto Earth and then inhabited the Earth, and then somebody, the Anunnaki, went in and kind of messed with their genes. Okay, that's fine. Either way, no matter what, something created the aliens, okay? It wasn't spontaneously. I don't believe things were just spontaneously just appear and now you have a human. It comes from something. And so when you understand that when a human decomposes into the earth, but the spirit, because I even watched, like, was it the Nat Geo channel about inmates and kids that are on death row or something. I watched some interesting stuff, but I learned about humans when I watch all these different shows about humanity. And he was saying that when a botched robbery went wrong and everything, and one of his friends that was robbing this guy was killed by the victim, or killed by the house they were robbing, and he actually could see the spirit leave the body. Like the guy said, he could see the spirit leave the body. And so, yeah, so the physical body gets recycled back into the earth, and then the spirit, the data, all of that trauma, now that energy is floating around in the universe. And people talk about reincarnation, the different, like Shintoism, Confucius, and all of the Asian religions where you have polytheism. Then they talk about reincarnation, and Buddha, things like reincarnation. So where everything has a spirit, and I would say so, because every single system and organ in your body has some kind of virus / spirit that will either upgrade or downgrade based upon weaknesses or strengths. So yeah, everything has a spirit. I mean, this was made from elements. It has a spirit. Okay, so I mean, so really, that's why religion and spirituality are one of the same, which is a different way of explaining life and death, and a different focus on the physical and the spiritual, which is the hormones that make up the human. as well as I'm talking about like my animal. Yesterday, there was a thing on Weird World, which is a site on Facebook that posts memes about stuff, some weird stuff. And one is about dogs and how how people are more empathetic to animals than they are to humans. And of course, it already intimates that you have to pick either or, when you really shouldn't have to pick either or. It just depends. But some humans really do like animals over humans because, animals are full of a hormone. They are aspects of us. Okay. They have either a lot of adrenaline or they have a lot of oxytocin or a mixture of the two. And so they are like our spirit animal is like the animals that we take care of that have a relatively similar biochemistry. Because believe me, if you have an animal that is not similar to your biochemistry, it's back in the pound or back out there going, hey, I need to go and rehome this animal because they're not aligned with our household. So animals, humans take on animals that are very close in chemistry as far as behaviors and personalities. So but every single animal, plant, and every single entity out there has a spirit, has a hormone that either will cause chaos or it will cause balance. And so this is where, again, we have to understand that chemicals and all the different bacteria and viruses are all part of your environment. And it's just a matter of, do you know your biochemistry and do you understand the chemistry out there? And then understanding how you want to lead your life with the ultimate outcome of indefinite life. Okay? And then to stop with the separation of like demonizing religions, demonizing spirituality, demonizing science, because you think your way of explaining life is that much better. No, it's just talking about different aspects of your life. Okay? And then what hormone is present at the time. So the whole point of J-Juice is for everybody to understand each other and to not focus on these superficial differences that man has created, because man discriminates, medicine discriminates, holistic remedies and allopathic remedies discriminates, but Mother Nature and the elements and the viruses and the bacteria don't discriminate. However, man has given you guys insurance. It has allowed you guys to live long enough to figure it out. Okay? And some of you haven't figured it out yet, and you're dead, which I've seen, a few people have died on my Facebook from old friends from cancer. Okay? And some people are already diagnosed and trying to figure out what to do with their diagnosis. And so, if we could have people understand the whole point of the hormones and what hormones need to be brought up for the healing process, what hormones that are present right now on the death trajectory is not optimal. But unless, I guess if you want to die, I guess it doesn't matter what hormones are present. You'll just live you'll live by the seat of your pants. I mean, that's kind of right now our society is that people are living very imbalanced hormonal lifestyles, and they justify it by then promoting their spirituality, their chakras and all that stuff. And they justify death and say that it's okay, which I guess it is. But if you're promoting life, then it's a little hypocritical. And that's what I'm pointing out, is if you're all about life, but you're promoting death, and then you live an imbalanced lifestyle of hate, or love, or sadness, depression, and angst, then you're not exactly promoting life, because those are the death trajectory hormones that are now most present. And then this is what you project and infect onto your community. And then this is what you pass down to your kids. So then your kids are all about love, because let me tell you, when I was reading some of the tributes on this person's page, And they're like, oh, this guy, you know, is so amazing. He was so full of love, and he was so this, and he was so that. And there was never anyone that said anything like, oh, this person was horrible. No, everybody was like he was so full of love. And of course, you're not going to want to have anybody on your Facebook or anyone in a eulogy talking smack. But it's like he had a lot of people that loved him, and he loved everybody, but yet he died. So where does the love, or the hate really get you? Or is there some other way to live indefinitely? And maybe living from love, and hate isn't the way to promote life. Because when I noticed that is the most prominent hormone when people are trying to bond and reproduce, and then they are all about playing with their chakras and promoting such icky sweet love and saying the world needs more love and this and that, and then a person is dead and they never was a crossword, because that person had said that this person was so patient, he was so kind, he was so this, and you're like, dude, and now he's passed away. Where did that get you? Or is there a balance between love and hate, boundaries? Is there a balance between all of that where you're not just oozing oxytocin wherever you're going like a snail leaving its slime? You're not oozing hatred where it's just like nails and tacks you leave behind you as you're walking through every single, room in the house. But is there enough balance of love to bond when it's appropriate, and when to set boundaries when it's appropriate, so you can continue to live indefinitely and you're not brought down by other people's imbalances? And so that was huge when I was like reading all of his tributes, and I'm like, man, he's so loved by everybody, but damn, he's getting the short end of the stick. He's dead in the ground. Where did all that love come from? Or where did it take him? It didn't take him anywhere but early in the grave. So this is where the Jeju. So that's why people are like, oh, I don't like how she, people that don't like me is because I'm not playing the love game. I don't cater to that imbalance. I don't cater to the hate either. I have a very specific convictions. I'm not looking for anyone else's perspective. I have my convictions. I have my own perspective that I have created, I have figured out, and I have substantiated. And if you want to be part of my world, great. If you don't, then there's no need to try to influence me in any way. And yes, I will put my foot down. It's like a tough love. Not everybody everyone that's imbalanced, that promotes the oxytocin like it's like they drink it for breakfast, or people that promote hate, don't like my balance between both of those hormones. They think I should either be in the hate or in the love, and that's not how Jeju's operates. If something ever happened to me where I died in a plane crash, knock on wood, or anything happened like a freak, you're going to see both love from people and you're going to see hate from people. And that is the proper balance. Okay? But having everyone just loving you doesn't mean shit in the bigger picture. I don't want everyone to just love me. I want people to hate me too in a lot of ways, because it wakes them up. I have taken a stand on something that they never even thought of, and I shook their world. And I didn't do it in a way that was the wrong science. I shook their world in a way that promotes life, that doesn't promote death, doesn't promote imbalance, doesn't promote all this crap that's floating around in all these spiritual groups or all these religious groups. Because when you go to like a spiritual group where everyone's all about love and playing with their chakras and doing all this stuff, and when you go to like a church or a religious thing, which is fine, okay, it's all about the love. It's the oxytocin. Why do people go to church and pay Joel Osteen? Why do people go to these healing circles and they play the drums and they massage each other and bring up all these pleasure hormones? Why do they do that? Because it's imbalances. It's pleasurable to bring up oxytocin on such an exponential level. But people do pay for it. They pay for their acid, they pay for their drugs, they pay for their cannabis, they pay for the ecstasy. So in a lot of ways, these healing groups or healing circles where they're all about the oxytocin, or they go to a church, or they go to some whatever, it's like a drug. Okay? And so the more we understand that living in those two extremes and then trying to promote life when you live in those two extremes, it does make a hypocrite out of you. Because as soon as you get on J juice, you're not going to be oozing all of these crazy hormones. It's going to be balanced out. You're not going to be chasing tail or oozing such love where it's like it's almost destructive. You're going to put boundaries down. You're going to make your kid grow up. If your kid is living at home and you're like all about the love, love, love to your child, and they're 45 years old living at home in your basement, okay? Because yeah, I'm seeing on Dr. Phil that the mother and the father or whatever, they love, love, love their kid, and their kid is destructive. But their kid is 45 years old, okay? And you're like, what the hell? Your love is destroying this child. So yeah, it's something that, you know, so that's what the whole J juice has you recognize, is you don't have to live in those two worlds, and recognize all the things in society cater to those specific imbalances. And so then you realize, okay, then what is life? Is life going to cater to my oxytocin? Is life going to cater to my hatred? Is life going to cater to all of these depressed things and cater to all of your imbalances? Or can you figure out how to balance everything out yourself so you're not living from one extreme to the other? And that's the whole point of J juice, is understand that everything is connected, understand the kind of differences, the superficial differences, so people can get that, okay, religion's about the superhuman and the spirituality is forgetting the body. Screw the body. It's all about the hormones and playing with the hormones. And then science is merging the two. And that's why I come from science, because I'm not trying to play with my hormones, and I'm not saying there's superhumans out there. I'm saying that we all can be a balance of both spirituality and religion and live indefinitely without catering to our imbalances. And then we stop with the demonization of anybody or anything. And we understand people do come from death sometimes because they're imbalanced, and you stay away from those that have a misaligned biochemistry. And that's it. You don't need to hate them, because there's no hate. There's just an aspect of you that your body is keeping at bay. Because if you are imbalanced, you will then entertain people who are imbalanced. Hate, 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 and love, love, love. So look at your circles, who you surround yourself with. If all your little circle friends are all about the hate and the activism and exposing the Illuminati, or all your little circle friends are all about the love, love, love and playing with crystals and chakras and whatever, then you might need to relook at what your goals are as far as your balance of biochemistry. And if you don't like people who are religious and you hate Joel Osteen, you know, and you think organized religion is horrible and all of that, then, you know, it's like, it's a little hypocritical, because spirituality can be just as destructive, especially when you're playing with your hormones. And it's hypocritical. So anyways, so I have to point out the similarities and then the superficial differences. So then you get that, yeah, it's hypocrisy when you think there's a difference between spirituality and religion. There really isn't. It's the same thing said in a different way with a little bit of a different focus, but not that much different. Okay, so yeah, I wrote this down. Religion is superhuman. What is it? God or personal God or gods? Like, it's kind of focusing on aspects of the body, mind, and spirit. And spirituality is forget the body and the mind. It's all about the hormones. And then science is a study of structure of behavior and physical what? The physical and natural world. Okay, so science is really where I want to come from, because that forgets all this. It doesn't allow compartmentalizing. Though science does compartmentalize, but science isn't just focusing on the hormones. It focuses on the body, mind, and spirit. You know, but the outcome is still death. So this is where we need to help science along and see if they're willing to face the pain of changing their business practices and saying it's okay to feel some pain. It's part of the healing process. Because they're seeing the other end of it is in the opioid crisis, the drug addicts, the painkiller people. And then the people who are the drug addicts and the opioid crisis then transfer like kratom and cannabis and who knows what in the holistic world. So they're just trading one addiction for the other. And so now, you know, J Juice is saying, okay, we've seen the pendulum swing the other way. Let's find and strike a balance. And so the whole thing with the J Juice is, can you merge together the allopathic and the holistic and the J Juice? And yes, you can, but there's a fine line. And if you then apply all of these pain remedies on a very extensive basis, then you're going back into the system again, being anesthetized, not actually healing. Okay, so so that's the whole point of J Juice. All right, I'm called down here. I'm gonna go upstairs, but you guys have a great day. Stay warm. Do the J Juice. Understand biological sin and original sin are the same thing. Biological sin is you're passing down the violations of life to your children. And this is why you see a continuous looping of life and death in humanity, and why reproduction is like the double spawn, right? Because these children are taking on the parents' PTSD and they haven't corrected it. And then they are catering to their hormones, making their quick buck before they pass away. Okay. But we don't have to have that. We can all kind of revert. We can all then kind of cycle back to being an Adam and Eve type of thing and not have that original sin or biological sin because we've corrected the trauma. Okay? All right. You guys have a good day.